Today we're going to talk about how to start writing music. And I'm actually feeling a little sick today, and I think that's actually the perfect start because writing music is not about perfection. It's not about waiting until you feel absolutely perfect. It's about just getting going and making it happen right in the moment. Sorry, I turned my air conditioner off for a minute, but it will definitely turn back on later. And yes, this is live, so if you've got a question for me, feel free to fire it off in the chat, and I will get to it. So, first off, like I said, there's no perfect way to start writing, but there is kind of a nice approach that I want you to think about. Basically, if you imagine two circles here, and hey, careful. On this side, it's just try stuff, right? And on this side, it's study how music works. And so basically, just try stuff means essentially whatever chords you know, don't be afraid to go, what does it sound like to go from C to E major? I kind of like that. Right? And on the other side, it means, okay, let's look at what it means, what even is chords in a key, what does it mean to write a melody, what does it mean to harmonize something, what does all that stuff mean? And what happens is, over time, you get this sort of Venn diagram, well, you get two overlapping circles, how about that? You got just try stuff on this side, and then on this side you've got study how music works. And what happens over time is that things start to intersect, where you get this point where you're like, oh, I'm just trying stuff, but I also know what I'm doing. And then over time, those two circles will start to intersect more and more and more until you're trying stuff, but you also know what to do. And what's important about studying how music works is, for a lot of people, you can write stuff without really knowing what you're doing, and you might get lucky sometimes. And getting lucky sometimes is really exciting. And some people think that's what writing music is all about, is just getting lucky. But on the other side of things, the reason you study is so that you have troubleshooting. You have sort of ways of describing that cool stuff that you've done so that you can write complementary parts. And so a good place that I like to start is just knowing the chords in a key. And you don't need to know to know why they're the chords in the key at first, but just starting somewhere and going, okay, these are the chords in the key of G major, or the chords in the key of E minor. It's the same key. And this is always a great place to start, especially if you're a guitar player, because these are some of the easiest keys out there. And then what you can do is just experiment with plugging them into, this is just a little grid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And just try stuff and go, okay, well, maybe I'll start with E minor, and then I'll go to D. Maybe I'll go E minor again, and I'll go to A minor. And let's see how that sounds. And it doesn't matter if you're trying a strumming pattern or if you're just doing two strums of each. Here I'm going E minor, D, E minor, A minor. Let's see. And if you go, hey, I kind of like that. One of the most awesome things about writing music is that once you write something, even something that short, you have something to react to. And for a lot of people, it's scary to just get started. And then once you write something, you go, oh, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know if I like this. I'm going to move on and try something new. Or you fall into this trap where you go, oh, that chord progression is really cool. I'm going to write a new chord progression to go along with it. And then you go G, C, B minor, E minor, and maybe that'll sound cool, but maybe it'll sound kind of disjointed. Let's see what happens. So if I'm going... That doesn't sound too bad. It is kind of, it's kind of long-winded. And a lot of people have the urge to be like, cool, now that I've done that, let me add more to it. And I've got like this story going of chords here. But one of the best things about writing something is that you've got something to react to. And one of the best ways of turning a little 4-chord thing into an 8-chord thing is taking what you have, repeating it, and making some change to it. I want to change maybe half of it, or maybe I want to change even 1 chord. Oops. So if I were to delete this A minor and put just a different chord there, what ends up happening to a listener as they go, okay, you're working through E minor, D, E minor, A minor, and then they go, oh, E minor, D, E minor, oh, you're repeating it. And then when this chord is different, the listener goes, oh, okay. I was expecting it to be the same, but it was different. And this is one of the coolest techniques to just take something you've written, repeat it, and then change something about it. Let's see how it sounds. That's kind of cool, and you can hear how that G just kind of changes things a little bit. Kind of makes it go, oh, this is different. You could also maybe think about changing the last 2 measures and going, maybe I want to go C, B minor. Let's see how that sounds. And then what we can do is we can mess around with some recording software and stuff too, but let's keep it simple for now. That's kind of cool. That tells kind of a story. And what we can do is we could take that chord progression and we could flesh it out a little bit more in some recording software. But today we're kind of just talking about how to get started. So one of the trickiest things about writing music is you might think, okay, when I set out to write a song, I should write a whole song. And the idea here is, let's see. Jason H. says, alternate title, How to Write a Popular Song. Well, I'm flattered that you think that chord progression is popular. That's great. These are the tricks to make something sound catchy. So if catchy is equal to popular for you, that's great. Love that. Thank you. Not sure if you meant it as a compliment, but that is okay. So the idea here is I have this idea of the songwriting pyramid. And it's not really, well, I forgot to spell pyramid for a second. It's not really, well, I'll show you. It's like a process. So down here we've got the create phase, and then here we've got the editing phase, and then up here we've got the polish phase. And a lot of people, when they set out to start writing music, they think, okay, I'm going to start a song, then I'm going to finish it, then I'm going to start another song, and then I'm going to finish it, and it's just going to go in this linear pattern of start, finish, start, finish, start, finish. What really I think a lot of songwriters do is they come up with a ton of just random little ideas where it's like that thing that I just came up with, you could call it a song seed, where it's like just a starting point, something to work with. And you collect, let's say, 100 little somethings to work with. And maybe of those 100, maybe you kind of like 50 of them and you kind of hate 50 of them, or maybe you like only 10 of them and you hate the rest of them. That's pretty normal. I can't stress enough just this creative phase of the process, and getting yourself into writing music. Thinking more along the lines of, I'm trying to write napkin sketches. I'm trying to write little doodles in a notebook. I'm not trying to write a whole song at first, especially if you've never written anything. Starting with this idea of like a little napkin sketch, a little riffy thing, a little something, and then developing tools to turn the ones that you like into more of a song, which I'm just going to say more of a song. And maybe what we'll do is we'll take that song seed that we wrote today, and we'll turn it into more of a song using these kind of editing phase tools. But the idea is, if you write 100 song seeds, that they don't take very long because they're just kind of plugging chords into a grid like that. Or you've got another method that you have. Maybe you write a riff and then you try to figure out chords to it, or you've got a melody idea and you record that into your phone. These are all just little song seed ideas that can populate your create, the foundation of your pyramid. And then you take just the ones you like. And, maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 20% of those that you really like, and you learn how to sort of edit and adjust and manipulate those things. And one tool that I just showed you is this tool of repeat and make changes. I just doubled the length of this progression just by repeating it and making some changes. There are lots of little tricks like this, but that's a big one. So now that we've got this idea, how can we turn it into more of a song? Well, we could come up with melody ideas. We could try to write a second section of chord progression. Right. And so when it comes to like figuring out how to write a melody, that stuff is a little bit complex. And like I said up here, you can do it intuitively at first, where you just try stuff. You try to find some notes that sound good. And then you can also study how melodies work. How do people write melodies? And it's totally okay to bounce back and forth between these two concepts. And like I said before, at first, just trying stuff might be the most familiar thing, and then over here might feel a little bit more robotic. But over time, like I said, these things will start to intersect more and more and more until you can try stuff and know what you're doing, which is really awesome. But let's say for now, if we know that we're in the key of G or the key of E minor, which makes things a lot easier. This is a great example of like studying just a little bit of music and understanding what it means to be in a key, which, let's pop over to the camera guitar for a second. We'll have a little mini lesson about this kind of thing. So if you haven't seen this before, this is my camera guitar. I had it set up in a different key earlier, but we're basically in the key of E minor. And all that means is that all the chords we're playing are just using notes from an E minor scale, essentially. There's more to it, of course. And speaking of course, I have a course all about music theory, specifically for guitar players to sort of understand how this stuff maps out on the fingerboard and how to make sense of it as a guitar player. But all these chord progressions right? All these chord progressions, they're just using notes from an E minor scale. So something you can do on your guitar is you could get to know an E minor scale or even an E minor pentatonic scale, which chances are you already know. And you can get to know your own, if you want to sing, you can get to know your own vocal range just by trying to sing notes of that pentatonic scale. So B, E, E, D, B, A, G. And the idea is if you can map out your vocal range where you go, okay, this is a comfortable B, D. D's a pretty comfortable note for me to sing. B, I can sing that, but as I get lower, A, G, those notes are harder for me to sing. And if I move up, D, E, G, A, B, D, that gets to a point where I can sing those notes higher too, but I have to yell. And so like part of getting to know songwriting or just writing music in general, if you want to write melodies with your voice, is also getting the hang of what is my vocal range? What notes are comfortable for me to sing? And so when you start kind of messing around with something you could play or sing over a chord progression, you could get a starting point by going, okay, E, D, 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 right? Something like that. And now you've got, right? I'm just kind of riffing on something, but I know that my range and if you're not comfortable singing and playing at the same time while you're kind of messing around with melodic ideas, you could always record yourself playing. Right? You could always record yourself playing and then sing along to your recording. But I like that. If I remember that melody idea, maybe I'll use it when we sort of get this stuff going on the guitar, on the computer a little bit. But that's why knowing a little bit of music theory can go a long way toward helping you figure out music theory. Now you're going to hear my AC in the background a little bit because I don't want to get too hot in here, so get used to it. Yeah, let's see. So I'm going to pause to just check out some comments. Sneck says, thanks for doing this. I just discovered your pentatonic scale video a while ago. And then your channel. You're great at explaining the things. Finally got it to make sense. Awesome. Happy to hear that. Thank you. Oh, these are just compliments. Thank you. I was looking for questions. I appreciate that, everybody. Jason H. says, humming is an excellent way to begin singing while playing. Totally agree. So, from here, we did get a good question earlier, actually. And that question was from... where did that go? Oh, a question from Cliff, who says, how to write a complementary chord progression, i.e. verse and then chorus, that fits with it. So I think we'll get into that, but I think what I might do is put this to recording software. And I will say, if you're getting started writing music, messing around with chord progressions like this can be so fun and rewarding, but also getting... some pretty basic recording software can make things so much more fun and make it feel like, you know, I'm playing with a band or something. But True S Armor says, it has an important question though that I want to make sure I talked about this earlier, but I didn't answer it maybe as thoroughly as True S Armor would like. True S Armor says, but how do you find your vocal range? So part of the idea here is your vocal range is not about what key you can sing in or something like that. It's a lot more about, let me turn this off for a second, T, A, B. So, yeah, True S Armor also says basic recording software is on your iPhone. That's true. So, essentially what I was doing earlier when I was playing a pentatonic scale is going, okay, this note here, B, you don't have to know the note, you can just hum it. And if you go, okay, so what I'm looking for here is my low possible, low comfortable, high comfortable, and then high possible. So the idea is I can sort of sing this note. It's possible, it's not very comfortable, but I'm singing this note right now. Now, whatever scale you want to play, or if you just want to like find notes on the guitar, I think this note is high comfortable, and then if I'm switching to falsetto, I think my high possible is probably like somewhere up here, but that's kind of like my voice has to switch to, I don't know, some people call it falsetto, some people call it head voice. I don't actually know the difference, but that means that realistically, my range for where I'm going to be writing most music is between here and here, right? So while we're at it here, Sam's Quest says, are you supposed to use the pentatonic scale to write melodies? You can, you don't have to. A lot of melodies are, well, it depends on the genre. Some genres of music lean more pentatonic. Other genres lean more full scale. Some genres of music like use a lot of chromaticism. It really just depends. If you check out my video called 5 Levels of Soloing, it's basically talking about how to write melodies. And the basic gist of melody writing essentially follows some rules, which I almost just got into, but I think that would be too distracting for now. I also have a course on my Patreon called Melody Making series, and it really shows like how I like to write melodies. But 5 Levels of Soloing is sort of a crash course in that kind of concept. So what I want to do here is I want to show you the fun of writing music using recording software. And I have this MIDI controller that I think I got to unplug and replug here. That is, oh, I see. You can't hear it. Now you can. Right, also I forgot to introduce you to Betty and Ernie. This is Ernie. She's got a little itch that she's not allowed to scratch, and then that's Betty. 2 sweet dogs. Anyhow, audio, MIDI controller can just control a variety of different sounds in your recording software, which is super fun. So what I want to do is I'm going to roughly figure out the tempo of this thing I was playing. It's kind of slow. Let me see how slow. I'm not going to get it perfect, but let's hear the metronome. That's way too slow. Somewhere around there. And then I'm going to turn the volume down on this for a second, and I'm going to try to play something like that. And if you want to see what I'm doing here, I'll show you my MIDI controller actually in use here. The cool thing about MIDI controllers is they don't you don't need to play perfectly, because You can fix it in the software later, but I'm going to hit record here, and I'm going to try to get a nice take here. So I got that. And oh, hang on a sec. When I use Logic Pro, my buttons don't work as well. I haven't got. So Jason says pampered with Apple, and then someone else says great content, though I wish you preferred Reaper. You know, I have been an Apple user my whole life. It's what I'm used to. I started using GarageBand in like 2005 or 6, and then I switched to Logic Pro, and so it is just the thing that I'm the most used to. Yeah. MIDI controllers are quite inexpensive. Thank you, Naughty. This one I think is $50, $60 maybe. And there are cheaper ones. I just really like this one. But so here is what hang on, there we go. Here is what my MIDI looks like in Logic Pro. But if I just go in here, you don't actually have to select it all, but if I hit Q, now it's all basically perfect. But let's see. That feels pretty good. So I'm going to take these 4 bars. Yes. Yeah. Let's see. You might hear some clipping because I left the metronome on. There we go. So now what I'm going to do here is I might start by recording the thing I originally recorded. I mean the thing I originally played here. Yeah. So I'm going to record basically the chord progression I was playing before, but here's one of the cool things. Come on. Let me switch screens here. There we go. So the chord progression I was playing before was basically just E minor, D, A minor, D, C, B minor. And all I'm doing is I'm going to change some of the voicings. And again, if we go back to my little graph I was showing about just try stuff, and then also a little music theory know-how can go a long way, I'm going to convert these to 7th chords. So instead of E minor, I'm playing an E minor 7. Yeah. And I'm just gonna mess around with them. But before I do, True S Armor says 7th chords over regular chords. Why? Why do musicians prefer them? Why do musicians? Yeah, I mean, I see. You wrote it too fast and had to delete it. So part of it is it's a little more fun to mess around with those chords. Sometimes you can just tell a little bit more of a story with your chord progression. It just makes it a little more fun to play, a little more interesting. So I'm gonna hit record on my software here. Let me make sure. Yeah, I got the tempo in my head pretty well. Let's let's hit record, and then we'll get to your question, Cliff, earlier from how do I write like a complementary part. I also just realized this, I might need to double the length of my recording block. Here we go. Okay, let's try this. 2, 3, 4. So, I don't actually like the drum beat that much going with this. Plus, I forgot to actually plug my guitar into the appropriate input. We're gonna get a different tone now. Let's see here. There we go. Now it'll actually record. But, I don't know if I like the beat as much. I might change what I'm playing slightly. Yeah, also, if you notice, let's see, I'm going to turn my fan speed up a little bit because it's still getting warm in here. It's crazy. I like, so I'm going to move with that kick drum instead of after it. That's nice. I'm hearing a little clicking in the background. It's partly because I got too many things open right now. But, here's the deal. Let's see. So this is not the key of F. This is the key of E minor. I had to turn something off on my software to keep from some basically I was overloading my CPU. So let me try this again. But I like where this is going. That's fine. Let's see. It's a little loud. I'm going to turn it down a bit. But that's fine. So now what I have here is, and actually, I didn't do the math. It actually was that length, so I recorded to here. That's all I need. But how do we write something complementary with this? And how do I write a melody? Let's just let's see here. And do we want to write a bass line? I might need to leave that to the... Okay. I love writing bass lines, but first what I want to talk about is I think the chord progressions are in my opinion, writing a chord progression is at the foundation of being able to write music, because it's almost like the chord progression is the canvas that you write the bass line, the rhythm guitar part. In fact, the rhythm guitar part that I wrote, I used the very basic thing that we wrote here. I say we, it's me, but we did this together. This very basic thing that I wrote, that was my starting point, but I fancied it up quite a bit, and I want to show you what I did. So give me one sec here. Even with a sort of a powerful computer here, I still have some funny issues that I gotta solve with my software. But the difference between like the chord progression and the rhythm part is that this basic thing here is just the gist essentially of what I'm going for. Let me see if this is ready over here. So let's see. It is ready. Cool. So E, F sharp, G, A, B. So one of the coolest things about just knowing a little bit of music theory is that when you play a chord like E minor, when you play any chord and you're in a key and you know that the key is, in other words, you know that you've made a scale, you make all your chords out of the scale. The way you actually make chords out of a scale is you play every other note of the scale to figure out what notes are in the chord. So E minor, the one chord in the key of E minor, is played with the first, third, and fifth note of the scale. If you look up at the circle, it's easier to see than looking at the fingerboard. But when you strum an E minor chord, you're just playing duplicates of E, G, and B. So one of the coolest things about knowing just a little bit of music theory is that the note in the scale that is up one from the root note or down one can always just be included in the chord to create a fancier chord. If you include the note that's down one note from the scale from the root note, you get something called a seventh chord. In this case, it's a minor seventh chord because this is an E minor and I'm adding the seventh. So when I go up here and I play this chord, what I'm playing is just an E minor 7. And if I want to, I can add this D up here with my pinky, which is just making that E minor 7 feel like something else interesting is going on. And if I want to include that F sharp sometimes too, I can do that. I can make some really gnarly fancy chords out there. But the simplest way to add that F sharp is to play something like this. It's an easy way to think about how to make a chord fancier is just find the root note and then include the note that's up the scale one or down the scale one, and you get a beautiful chord like this or a beautiful chord like this. You could probably add this F sharp instead. Beautiful. That is called an E add 9. Uh-oh, is the audio breaking up? Okay. We might need to move to the technical difficulties screen for a second. I know what to do. Give me one sec here. I'll be right back. One sec. All right. We should be back up and running momentarily here. Yeah, let's see. How's that? Are we good? So, hopefully we're good. Oh, you know what? We're not good yet. You can't even see anything. Let's see. And here we are. That should be doing it. I gotta go over here to double check. There we go. Okay. You should be able to hear and see me, no problem now. So, that's why when I played this progression, I made it a little fancier. Instead of just keeping it simple, I was going like this. Then I did this, which is a C chord with the note right behind. That's the root note of the C chord. I just included the note that's right behind it in the scale to create a C major 7. Yes, that's quite a stretchy chord. This chord, by the way, I sort of had this idea of, what if I just try to keep this B in most of the chords? So, I could have done it here too, but I wanted a little break from that B, so. So that's basically how I took that chord progression and just made it a little fancier. But now, we gotta have a little talk about what do we do if we wanna write a complementary part. So, one thing we can do if we wanna write a complementary part is we can use the descriptive method. What is that? I'll show you. So let's listen to this and get your typers ready because I'm gonna ask some questions. So, what if we were gonna describe just what we have so far, this chord progression, thinking in terms of what's the general vibe? What's the energy level? Does it feel really high energy, medium, low? No wrong answers. So, medium to low energy. Let's see. We've got low, chill, medium to low. The beat also is helping the chill part. So, I would agree this is chill. I would also say the guitar part is, how do I put this? I would say the guitar part's pretty constant too. It's not taking any breaks. So I would say it's almost like it's kind of busy. Not busy in a bad way, but just like it's trying to fill up the rhythmic space. Right? It's also kind of mellow. So what we could think about is maybe the next part we want to be more upbeat if this is kind of chill. Maybe we want to raise the vibe, the general energy. We want to move it up. And then maybe we want to think about, since the guitar part's pretty constant, maybe we want to adjust the rhythm part. So maybe there's some faster parts, maybe there's some pauses, maybe there's something else. So let's get in here and see. I like to start actually with the drum part. And honestly, I'm gonna use the same kind of method I did before where I copy and paste and then I think, okay, this is chill. So these cymbals are called ride cymbals. You can see it right there. It says ride, out. And I think if I switch just to like, let me scoot down here enough to see hi-hat, close. And I could even go, I could do a little, oops, I don't want all of them. I just want to move some of these. That's kind of fun. Just a little. Let's see. And maybe I want to throw some toms in there. Like, just chill. But I could also do something like, no, this is nice. I could keep this this kick pattern. We could make it a simpler. Let's see. So I'm gonna just copy and paste what I did here. I know this is kind of chaotic, but woo! I'm not a drummer though, so. Then we're gonna try, so the descriptive method, in case you missed it, the reason we used descriptors, like, okay, medium, low energy, kind of constant guitar part, even just with those two things, we can say, well, what could be complementary? Maybe a guitar part that's not constant, and maybe just changing the energy level on the drums. So the next thing to do is just to see, do these parts feel like they flow together? So here's just 2 bars of that previous one. So far, this feels like we could go high energy, but still a lot of space. Or we could go lower energy. So before, I don't need this other guitar here. Let's see. Right. We could do something with space. I'm gonna just mess around. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, and it's probably gonna sound bad. And that's one of the most important things about writing music is sometimes the process doesn't sound good because you're writing music. Kind of like how practice doesn't always sound good because you're going, no. Ugh. Or when you're practicing switching chords, sometimes you're going, oh. You're like, so it's the same with writing music. You're just trying to find something. So what I'm doing here is, I don't know if it's going to sound good, but I'm hunting for something. And I'm trying to I'm focusing on either high energy and a lot of space, or more chill energy and a lot of space. But the important thing is I'm thinking of going, and I can't decide if I want that to be like aggressive or chill. I don't know yet. And I don't, let's see. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? But we'll get there. I kind of like... I don't like that. That's kind of cool. But yeah, let's just see how it feels going from one to the other. Nikre suggests higher pitch funky slides maybe. I might try that, but let's see. I just want to see how they go together. Yeah, I don't need those high ones. But I do like the idea of maybe doing the same kind of thing. Yeah. Let's see. And then I'll do a bass line for these as well. But I might try doing it higher up on the guitar instead of down here. I might go I just don't have like a little resolve for it yet, but I'm gonna play the same kind of thing. This is a C major 7, so that's kind of cool. Nope. So what am I trying to do? It's really hard to go. I like that though. We'll make this come to life with a bass line, but for now I'm just trying to so I'm thinking chord-wise, you don't really get to hear the root notes of what I'm playing, but I'll show you. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try that, so let's see. And by the way, I'm starting with something simple. I'm still thinking the chord progression for this section is just C major, D major, G major, and then C major, and then B minor, A minor. But I'm just making it a little fancier with a C major 7 instead. And then a cool, that's just a D chord, but it's a cool voicing. And that feels like I'm doing a whole lot, but I'm playing a G major 7, a quick A minor, and then I'm back to a G chord here. And overall, the bass player, me, later, can just hang out on a G bass note and not really worry about that A minor because it's so quick. But I think I got something I like here. Nope. Yeah, one more. I think I almost got it. I keep forgetting what I'm doing here. I don't know if I like that A minor as much as I thought. But maybe I want to go B minor. That's better, I think. That feels a little more resolved. Yeah, okay. That's good enough. I think I did it. So, now, let's just hear how these two sections flow together. Let's mess with the bass line, and then I think that's nice. I don't think it's amazing, but I think, here's the thing. On its own, I think it's kind of cool, but I think that with a bass line, I think it'll really come to life. So I'm gonna fire up the bass line. Meanwhile, let's check in on the girls. See how they're doing over there. How you guys doing? Doing okay? You a little bored? Yeah, that's okay. Good girls. Yeah. Good girls. Okay. Yeah, good dogs. Love some good dogs. So, I got my bass. And I gotta plug it into the right input here. By the way, is my AC really obvious and annoying, or is it doing okay? Ooh. Sorry, gotta warm up a little bit. I'm also gonna just get in tune real quick. Okay, I think, oh, here's a good question. Hogwriter says, you tune using 1, 4, and 5? I find that sometimes basses, the open notes, intonation-wise, don't always mean that the other frets are going to be in tune. So I usually don't play a lot of open notes on the bass, so I try to tune to frets that I'm more likely to be playing. And I'll show you what I'm talking about on my screen here. Here's my open A. Here's my 5th fret. Here's my 7th fret. Here's my open D. Here's my 5th fret. Here's my 7th fret. Here's my open E string. Here's 5th fret, 7th fret. It just works better for me, I think. I learned that actually at a session once, a recording gig I got hired for, and the bass player something was out of tune, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just tune to the frets I'm playing." Okay, so let's, I actually have not been thinking at all about what kind of bass line I'm going to play, so I might start with the section we just did, and just, again, I'm just going to kind of noodle around till I find something. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, that's right. I played a different. Yeah, there's something to it. I keep wanting to play A there. Also, yeah, something about it. My bass doesn't quite feel in tune. Probably with my air conditioner running, my guitar might have slipped out of tune. I don't know. Or I forgot to tune it. Whatever. These things happen when you're writing. I like this. I want to finesse it. I keep going to an A minor there. Why? Brain. Come on, brain. Here, I'll focus this a little better. One more try. I think we'll get it, and then I think I'll have a more interesting bass line for the other part. That's a very straightforward bass line, but I think it'll work. I'm gonna give it a listen, and then let's see. So, would you like to know what I was doing? It's really straightforward. Playing the root note, C, C, and then I was playing G, which is the fifth of C, but I was using, basically, when you're playing bass, music theory also is very helpful. If you've got a root note, the fifth of the chord is always right here, and a lot of, I would say, home bass on the bass is playing mainly roots and fifths and then dressing it up with some other stuff. Of course, get 5 bass players in the chat, they'll all have different opinions, but the gist of it for me is playing root and fifth. But on a major chord, playing root, 5, and 6 is also pretty common. I mean, if you think about, that's root 5, 6, root 5, 6, root. That's a really common thing to play for like a major chord bass line. And then I made it feel kind of like a little pentatonic scale to walk up to that D. And then I just played the G way up here, and I played the fifth of G as well. So root 5, 6, root 6, and then root of the next chord, and then root, fifth, root, 5, 6, root 6, and then that's the root of the B minor, and then the fifth of the B minor, and then E, D, that's just root of the E, root of the D, really straightforward. Let's see if we can come up with something a little more interesting for this other section. I'm kind of hearing something really interesting. Let's see. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Let's see. There's something kind of fun in there. I think if I play the riff like that, E, na, 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 na. That's kind of fun. Let's try it. There's something kind of fun about that. And I can turn the camera guitar back on at some point and just show you kind of my thought process for this using the notes on the guitar if you want. But I think I'm going to record that. little sloppy, but kind of fun. So let's check this out. Thank you, Padovan. Appreciate that. Okay, I did not actually think about whether it would flow into the next section very well. By the way, this is kind of what writing looks like sometimes when you're using software. This is one of my favorite ways to practice. Like that, some of that bass line was kind of hard, and it took a little finesse to make it work for me. Maybe I need to go to Guitar Church to talk about something else, but let's listen to this for a sec here. So of course, if I was going to turn this into a song, each section would probably be longer, right? And then I'd probably try to write some kind of a melody over it. But there's something I want you to think about here. And I think to do that, I think we got to go to Guitar Church. So, oh, it's much quieter over here. So a lot of people imagine that, I need a drink for this. I got the fridge right here. A lot of people imagine that in order to write music, a lot of people learn music as if they're trying to be prepared for any possible musical scenario where they're like, I got to learn all my scales perfectly, my major scales, my minor scales, in all 12 keys. I need to be able to switch between any chord at any given moment, and I need to just drill all this technique stuff so that I can be the perfect guitar player. But the problem with that kind of thinking is that you've got limited time, you've got limited resources, and that's not actually how like creativity works. It's actually backwards. You start by trying to make something and then seeing what you need to be able to make stuff better. And if you're just doing all this prep without knowing what it takes to make music, you're kind of missing the point. And so what I'm trying to say today is the best way to prepare for writing is to try to start writing right now. And don't try to prepare for writing. Just try to start writing. And in the process of writing, you'll be like, oh, I don't know major keys as well as I thought I did. I better study the key of G. And if you get to know the key of G really, really, really well, to the point where you're writing stuff in G and it's really comfortable, then you could go, well, I'm curious about the key of D or the key of C. And then you go, oh, I'm going to get to know the key of D really well. And then you could probably write 10 songs just using the key of D and the key of G. And then you might find, oh, the relative minor of both of those keys uses all the same chords. So now I can write in the key of E minor and the key of G and the key of B minor and the key of D. I just played a gig, well, not just, but I'm about to play another gig coming up with my band, and we are going to play probably just like a 45-minute set, and most of our songs are in just a couple of keys. Like my singer really likes, even if I write a song in a different key, it ends up in like the key of C minor or the key of B or the key of A minor or maybe the key of G minor. We only tend to write songs in minor keys. So of all the songs we're going to play, like 4 of them are in the key of C minor. And it's like, yeah, we're not going to go through all 12 keys at our gig. We're going to play probably 5 different keys, maybe 4 different keys. And that's fine, that's normal. The idea isn't about what key it's in, it's more about how interesting it is or what kind of stuff, you know? So I needed some water. But the idea the idea is the best way to practice writing is to just start doing something. And if we go back here, sermon over. If we go back over here to, where am I going? All my stuff is caught on everything. Oh, I sat down wrong, apparently. Hang on. My car wash style cables. There we go. They just click into place over there. So, if we go back to this little thing I was talking about earlier, what we just did was we took that thing that we came up with in like a minute or two, and we just kind of fleshed it into more of a song. Is it a song yet? No, not at all. But if you wrote a little melody to this thing, it could pretty quickly be like, okay, this section kind of feels like a verse. This section kind of feels like another section. And you could see how if we use that descriptive method, you can often come up with another part, right? The idea is, or what am I saying? I read a funny comment. Sometimes the chat is actually more distracting than I realize. But what we just did was we took the song seed, turned it into more of a song. The next phase would be to take, maybe you collect like 20 little things like we just did. It's not a complete song, but it's more of a song. And then you go, okay, I'm going to try writing lyrics to that. I'm going to try writing a melody. I'm going to try kind of fleshing it out into not just verse, chorus, but into intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, the classic format. And then maybe I'm going to try to finesse these little like transitions between sections. And it's just the same kind of thing. But if you're just trying to get into writing, one of the best things you can do for starters is just practice making little easy chord progression-y things, 4 bars, and then repeat that 4 bars like we did earlier and turn it into 8 by just repeat it and change something about it. Then take just a couple of those ideas that you have, bring them into your editing phase, and just see if you can make them into more of a song. And then over time, you'll be developing tools to make it easier and easier and easier to kind of polish those ideas and make them finished ideas. And another really, really, really important thing to think about is not, I feel like especially in the United States where I live, there's this urge to do absolutely everything yourself. And if you don't do every single thing yourself, it's like you're failing or something. And something I learned years and years ago is that I love writing music. It's my favorite thing. But what I love the most is finishing those song ideas with a songwriting partner who has strengths where I have weaknesses. I'm really good at coming up with initial ideas. I come up with, just like my create phase thing like I was talking about, I don't like every idea I come up with, but I can come up with an idea. I'm also pretty good at troubleshooting and writing complementary parts like that. But I'm not so good at the finesse parts, and I'm not so good at writing lyrics. And I don't need to be the singer. And so with my band, Hot Bodies in Motion, who you might have heard a little bit at the beginning, we have this awesome partnership where I bring him song ideas that might be in this rough of shape, or maybe I'll write a melody, but it's basically just verse and chorus that I bring to him with a melody, and then he either likes it and starts writing to it, or doesn't like it, and then it just sits on my computer forever, which is also totally fine. That's part of the game. Not all of the songs end in a finished song. Some of them just go to the song graveyard, which is totally fine, totally normal. But what I'm trying to say is finding someone else to write with can be just incredibly rewarding and such a big part of being a musician. Playing with other people is such a big part of being a musician. You learn so much from playing with other people, and it can really change everything if you find someone to write with. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you have any questions for me? This is live, after all. You're totally welcome to ask me in the chat here. But I think I might call it a day pretty soon, if you don't mind. We got a lot done here. Oh, was I going to show something? Was I going to show how I wrote those bass lines? Or Chad says, yeah, and I had to invest in additional land for my song cemetery. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I can't stress enough the idea, and again, part of why I did this feeling a little sick is like, it's never going to be the right time. You're never going to know enough to start writing music. You just got to start now and figure out what you need as you go. And you don't need as much as you might think. And if you remember that graph from the first part here, which is, hopefully I was able to demonstrate the difference between just try stuff and then study how music works, and how, give yourself permission to practice in these two totally separate areas. Try writing without, if you don't know what a key is, try just writing stuff and see how it sounds and collect what you like and ditch what you don't like. Then sit down and go, okay, I'm going to make sure that without a shadow of a doubt, I know I am in the key of C or the key of A minor, and I'm going to write only using chords from that key, and then I'm going to use the A minor scale only to write stuff, and write in this totally different zone, right? This totally different mode of writing. And over time, as you're bouncing back and forth between these two different modes of writing, they'll start scooting closer to each other and closer until they're overlapping. And eventually you can kind of write without thinking about it, and also quickly figure out, how do I write something complementary? What key am I in? What's going on here? And you'll start developing your own sort of tools for writing stuff. I think, let's see. I think Ernie's getting a little anxious. She doesn't usually hang out here with me as much. Ernie, come here. Come on up. Oh, she doesn't want to come. Come here. How'd you get your e-cone? How'd you get your e-collar off? Come here. Oh, come on. Come on over. Yeah. No? Okay. I think I got to get these girls home. So, thanks so much for hanging out with me, everybody. I'll see you next time. Oh, Sam's Quest asked a very good question. How can I know when your next stream is? To be honest, I just stream when I feel like it on YouTube, but I do a live Q&A on my Patreon every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I've been doing that. I think I just did my 210th one. I've been doing that for a couple years, I guess, is how the math works out on that. Ernie, go lay down. Go on. You can do it. No? Okay. You want to come over here? She's ready to go home. There we go. But yeah, if you haven't, check out my online school. I think you might really like it. I have been pouring my heart and soul into it. I've got hundreds of lessons uploaded. I've got, I talk about sort of music mindset kind of stuff, kind of guitar churchy type stuff, but like, stuff to think about that teachers don't often tell you, because people are usually teaching you technique and theory, and they're not often talking about the nuances of how it's going to feel when you learn those stuff, and some of the pitfalls and like bad habits you might get into, or mindsets that might set you back. I also have some caged series that really help you get to know the fingerboard better, and my favorite thing is just giving you the tools to create music. And actually, I have a weekly sort of writing session thing where we take a writing prompt, like something could be like write in the key of A minor, or it could be write using only one finger on your left hand, or write something sad or chill, or write something energetic. And it's just a simple writing prompt once a week to remind you that, like, actually using music theory to create something is one of the best ways to get comfortable with stuff. Yeah. So Christian, I think I'm going to skip the melody this time, but next time. This was fun. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'll see you all next time. Have a lovely evening, afternoon, day, wherever you are. Bye. Thanks for checking out my channel. If you like what I do here, you might really like my online school. I know a lot of YouTubers out here are trying to just get rich quick by selling you some bullshit, and I want you to know that's not me. I've spent the past 5 years building this school into something I'm really proud of. It's not for everyone, but if you're interested in how music theory works, how it maps out on the fingerboard, and how to use that knowledge to actually make your own music and play with other people, my school is probably the right place for you. So here's the deal. For only $11.67 a month, you get access to a ton of helpful resources for learning this kind of stuff. There's also a 7-day free trial if you want to try it out first. So yeah, like I said, I focus a lot on how to actually apply music theory for those who want to jam with other people or write music or develop your ear. For starters, you might like my Music Theory for Guitar series, where I start with the building blocks of music theory: scales, intervals, triads. Then build on those concepts to arrive at the chords in a key and what it actually means to be in a key. These are crucial concepts to understand if you want to be able to do that kind of stuff. You know, play with other people, jam, write music. I also have a course called Caged Basics, where I break down all 5 caged chord shapes and dig deeper into how to use them. Then we take those shapes and overlay the pentatonic scales so you can really see the relationship between the chord shapes and the pentatonic shapes. Each lesson in the series has practice tracks to make it fun and easy to get through the lessons and to really solidify the concepts. I've got a bunch more series and one-off lessons you might like, but I also want to tell you about my weekly community challenge and weekly live Q&A. The community challenge is basically a writing exercise for my patrons to practice actually using music theory concepts. It's not about writing a whole perfect song or singing or a performance of some sort. The idea is to just take a concept like write something in the key of C major, or write something spooky, or write something in 3/4 time, and just write something. Then share what you've written with the community. It's always so fun to see what people come up with. I firmly believe that writing music is not an innate gift that some special people have. It's something anyone can practice and develop over time, and I'm trying to make it a fun, communal thing. I also want to tell you about my live Q&A sessions. Every week I welcome any and all questions related to guitar, playing with other people, music theory, recording, music equipment, and whatever else comes up. Sometimes the simplest question can result in a beautiful light bulb moment that just invigorates you and makes you so excited to keep playing and keep learning. And that's why I do it. I just want you to learn, and I'm so excited when people have those moments. Anyhow, if you're interested in developing your knowledge, skill, and creativity with guitar, consider joining my online community of guitar learners at patreon.com/ScottPaulJohnson. Don't forget there's a 7-day free trial in case you want to try it out first. I hope to see you over there. Thanks for watching.